and engineers on GitLab. I wanted to walk you through what I'm currently working on, as there's a couple of community contributors that will start working with me on this. So it's partly for them to see what it is that we're going to be working on, and also open to the public. If anyone else wants to join in, you're more than welcome. So I'll show you what it is we're working on. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, so this is the issue that we're currently working on. Make sure you can see it. Great. Okay, this is the issue that we're currently working on. It's a public issue. You can have a look at it if you want. This is the URL. I'll add it as a comment so you can in the chat. Right, so now you should be able to see it as a comment on the video. But this is the issue that we're working on, assigned to me. So I wanted to show you what it is for. So what this is for is adding in opt-in avatar to every step of the breadcrumb component. So what is the breadcrumb component? It's this. Why is it important? You might notice that my GitLab looks a little bit different here. So we're working on updating the navigation sidebar to be here instead of the top. So you can, I want to show you how you can activate this on your GDK or on GDK. So this is the information about it. Again, I'll post it as a comment. So you need to enable the super sidebar navigation feature flag. That's how you turn it on. So when you're running GDK, you can turn on this feature flag and turn on this feature flag. If you don't know how to turn on a feature flag, you can Google it or look it up in the docs. Feature flags. Yeah, you can read about how it works here, how to turn it on. So once you turn it on in your avatar, you can see new navigation. It's in alpha stage, which means it's not stable. We are collecting bugs, so if you want to use it, try it out. This is where you can add bugs, and would really appreciate if you do that. Okay, so the reason why we're updating the breadcrumbs is because a few reasons, but one is when we hide the sidebar, this belongs in with the breadcrumbs. So you can see when we're a slightly smaller page, it's along with the breadcrumbs. So that is an issue because if there are no breadcrumbs, like for example, on your profile page, we have no breadcrumbs. Once we load, anyway, no breadcrumbs. So that means when we hide the breadcrumb, when we hide the side menu bar, it's supposed to go in with the breadcrumbs, but there are no breadcrumbs, so we can't access it, can't turn it back on. So that's why it's in alpha and not beta. But this is a problem that we can't launch this until we solve this problem. So what we need to do is add breadcrumbs to a bunch of pages that don't have breadcrumbs yet, as you can see here, including user profile. So why we want to update the breadcrumb component in GitLab UI to add avatars is because currently we implement breadcrumbs in a couple of different ways on the code base. So here is an example. So we have a GitLab component called breadcrumbs. So we can see where it is being used. Yep. So we can see that it's being used on a bunch of pages on these pages. So we have 4 or 5 instances of actually using the GitLab component breadcrumb, but we have far more instances of using breadcrumbs within our HAML pages. So if you look for files that include HAML, you can see that we're actually adding the breadcrumbs in Ruby on Rails in our backend. So what we want to do is work out, so one, how can we make the GitLab component more usable, so that it is used a lot more. It's not being used because it's not very useful, so that's fair. And one of the reasons why you would use Ruby on Rails instead of the GitLab component, the GitLab UI component, is that the component only allows you to use one avatar. So if we have a look at the, this is the GitLab UI component, and what I'll do as well is show you, oops. Okay, so in GitLab UI, how does this breadcrumb look? We can start the storybook. So we're currently just on the main branch of GitLab UI. Just take a second. Okay. So you can see how breadcrumb works here, where you can only have an avatar on the very first item. So the way that looks in code is we have, before we render the breadcrumbs, we render the avatar, and we render it as a slot. So that means, let me show you. Actually, that like the instances where we do use this. So you have this template separator. So if you're not, if you're new to Vue, this will be interesting. This took me a little while to get my head around. So in a Vue component, you can have a slot, and the name of the slot, it needs the name, and it maps to the template. So what this means is, if you create a template with the name separator, it will replace this. So these 3 lines is this is the default. If you don't pass anything as a slot, if you do pass it as a slot, so you can see here we have template separator. So what is yeah, that doesn't look very friendly. Okay, so this what's in template separator will replace what's in here. So instead of the chevron right icon, we'll get this slightly different chevron right icon. So what I want to see is where we have this slot avatar, where are we using it? Are we using it? I already know because I looked before, but I couldn't see any instances where we're using GitLab breadcrumb. I might just search for this, make search a little bit easier. We don't have to scroll down. So each time we're using it, we're not actually using the avatar anyway. In most cases, we're just passing the items. So that makes me think at the moment, that's funny. There's no, just gives a empty array. Must be some good reason. Okay, so no, that's not. So then this template slot avatar is not actually being used at the moment at all, it seems, anywhere in our code base. So that makes me think we can change it, and it's not going to be a real problem how we change it. So because we want to be able to have an avatar on every single breadcrumb item, and this should be optional. The way I was thinking we would do it is, so at the moment we have the item, which is so in items, the items are the breadcrumbs. So then, for example, each item will look like this. And then, so what we want to add in this breadcrumb item is also image. Actually, I didn't think to do this before, but so you can see that breadcrumb comes from Bootstrap view. So what we're doing is we're like wrapping Bootstrap view breadcrumb, which is this one. We're using this Bootstrap component and we're making some additions. So what I want to know is like, how does this work as like in Bootstrap? How does it work? Can you have an image? Does it support images? Can we take advantage of that or not? Looks like it's an image on this one. This isn't, I should have started, this isn't a polished video, like this is a live coding video. So I'm trying to work this out in real time. I've done a bit of research on the topic prior to this, but it's mostly me trying to work it out, and I'm going to try to talk through my thought process so that it makes it easier for you to do a similar thing. Okay, so when we have the breadcrumb item, we just add an icon within the item, no problem at all. That seems to be fine. Okay. Cool. All right. No worries. So what that means is when we are using this GitLab UI, when we're using the breadcrumb item, we can throw our avatar in there instead, and that's going to work. So yeah, so excuse me. So for every item in items, we're rendering a breadcrumb item. And the start of this, we want to have an avatar. So we currently got the slot. It's this is not going to be useful because you can only add one slot, and we need like an array of icons. So what I'm going to do, what I did previously, was I had a look at the breadcrumb stories. So breadcrumb stories is what you see here. So this is running locally. This is stories showing off all of our different components. So this example, this is what we're looking at. So in this, I'm going to close GitLab for now. So in this example, we have a template. And the way it works, I don't know. Okay, I'll just read it properly. So we have our GitLab breadcrumb. That's what we're rendering. We give it some items, and then we're replacing the avatar. We can also replace the separators, but we're not in this case. So then what we put in this template here is what is going to replace what was in the avatar slot. So what I want to do is take this same example. This example is, obviously it works. This works. I'm going to take this example and I'm going to use it as the base for my implementation. So as it would when rendering, it's going to replace this slot. So I'm just going to replace it here. Oops. Just save it to auto format. So we have a few things we need. One is the alt tag. This is a pretty easy fix because what we can do is have a look at how does GitLab do this currently. So you can see I was just looking this up, but I'm just going to inspect it. The alt tag is the same as the text, which makes sense because this is an image for GitLab.org. So the alt tag should say GitLab.org. Same for here. We have the image and our alt tag for the image is GitLab. Cool. So what we're going to say is like when we have an image, first we need to say like we don't necessarily always have an image. So if we don't have an image, that's fine. So we'll say if, so like if it has an image, we'll use it. So the way it's currently working is each item that is being passed requires we can have a look at in the props what it requires. So items is an array. It's required. The default is an empty array with, I don't know why there's a default if it's not required. I don't think it needs it. We'll leave it anyway. And then validator, what it's doing is making sure that the links are actually links. Okay, so it's a little bit confusing to read, but I just want to read it, make sure that I understand it properly. So for every, okay, so validator links. I don't know what this means. So we're getting this array, we're calling it links, and then we want to make sure for every single one of the items in links, which we're going to call link, the keys will be text, href, or 2. So we need to make sure like each of these items. So again, this is not quite right. So this should be items. We'll change this now, so then it's easier to read. So for items, so every item, and we're going to say item, the keys of the object item. So now we're going to get an array of keys. So these are the keys: text, href. So it should say it needs it needs text, and then it also needs either href or 2. So href would be like any link. 2 would be a I think like a view router link, in case it's run by the front end, which is generally not, but can be. Yeah. So so what we are going to do is we're going to add an optional object attribute. I don't know if that's the right word. Which will be the image. I'm just going to add it here for now. This isn't where it should go, but we want to think about what do I want in the image? What do I need? Because there might be a few things. For the text, straightforward, it's a string, right? For the link, also straightforward, it's a string. But for an image, we might need to think about the size. We might need to think about the alt tag. But considering our breadcrumbs look like this, we have the interesting. It's already because we it's already rendered it because we added this. We didn't complete it, so it's anyway. So what we want to say is maybe there's a logo, an icon. Maybe there's not. So when we validate, we can say, so currently the validator says, okay, it must have text, it must have a href. It says There's nothing to say it must have an image. I don't think it needs an image. It doesn't need an image, so we don't need to validate it. But yeah, what I want to work out here is, should it just be like an image, a source, image source, or what should it be? We'll call it image source for now. I'm not sure that's really correct. If you have a better idea, feel free to put it in the chat and see if it comes through. Yeah, I'm not even sure if anybody's watching live, but anyway, if you have a better idea, please sing it. Okay, so default, I'm not going to put this in here anyway, but I think at the moment we just want the source. So we have here the source. Alt tag, we're going to use the title. Source, we need avatar path. That's better. We can say that. It has a fixed width, fixed height, and I think this is probably going to be, like, it's going to have to be the same everywhere so that we get consistency. So I'm just going to make the avatar path. Still not quite right, is it? Call it image source. So the image source, so now we're expecting a prop to include an image source. Oh, I think we did get a message. Oh, Marco, hey, how's it going? You're welcome to join in if you want. I'm live streaming by myself, working on a GitLab UI issue. Yeah, you're welcome to join if you want. Sorry, lost where I was. Okay, what I'm going to do is, so in this, sorry, 1 second. All right, so in this list of items, we're taking the item, we're taking the index, and from the item, we're getting the href, the text, not the text, the href, the to. And what we're going to use here is, if there is an item dot image source, then we'll render this image. It should have an alt tag of this text, and then we add our dots so that it says this is a variable. That's the difference. This is a string, that's a variable. Yeah. Okay, so source needs to be a variable. This will be the avatar path. So we're going to use item.image source, and we're going to get rid of this because it's coming from the template. So item.image source, fixed width, fixed height. Okay, I'll save that so we can have a look. So now what we should expect is for no images to be rendered at all, which is what we have. So then to test this, what we want to do is we want to have a look at this breadcrumb stories, and we're going to add the source is the avatar path, which is a static image of Sid, I think. But we're going to add this to, so image source is avatar path. Okay, and now we should get, all right, it's not working, so that's interesting. We're not using the variable. Sorry, it's obvious. Okay. Great, cool. So that works, and then we're going to check to see if it works on all of them, and it does, as expected. Now I'm not sure if the alignment's quite right there. I think it's fine. Just have a look at the image size for these. These are 15 and 15. Okay, so what I want to do is work out, like, what currently are we using as the image size? 15 or 16? Because this says 16, but in practice, I think it's probably 15. So I'm going to look at implementations of the breadcrumbs throughout GitLab and how it works. And this is difficult, so you might just have to bear with me. So we're going to look at HAML pages that have the word breadcrumbs in it. So this is using like a special, like a breadcrumb helper to add the title. But what I really want to see is like when do we add the images and how do we do that? And yeah, fair warning, I did look before and I couldn't really find it, so it might take me a little while. So we've got this add to breadcrumbs function. So this is all in Rails. I'm not great on Rails, but well, so what's happening here is we've got a breadcrumbs helper module. We define these functions that we can call, and this one is called add to breadcrumbs. You can add a link and a text, the other way around, whatever. But what we need is, how do we add the images? When do we do that? Because I don't know. So we have, yeah, I mean, you're just going to have to read with me, I'm afraid. Yeah, none of the images. So we can have a look at what we had before was just breadcrumb and looking in the HAML. This is probably our best bet of just looking at different implementations. That's not the right word. Instances that we are using breadcrumbs and how we do it. So here we're just adding the breadcrumb title. As far as I'm aware, the only time we use images is when we refer to the group or the project. So gitlab.org is our group, GitLab is the project. Similarly, you can see here, gitlab.org is the group, GitLab UI is the project with our different logo. So, yeah. So this could be called like image, it could be called logo, I don't know. So we'll search for like breadcrumb, anything followed by image, logo, no, avatar could be, no. No. Again, if you're watching, if you have any ideas, please sing out. More than happy to hear from you. So the other thing I can think of to do is like, okay, on this page, we're looking at an issue. We're looking at a specific issue, so we can look at a HAML page that renders that specific issue and see how is this page being rendered, what makes up this page, and how is this happening. We could also have a look in the GDK, actually, while I think of it, because here we can use view dev tools, and that will be might be more useful. So here we've actually got no image because we don't have an image on this project. Let's have a look at what other projects we have on. Oh, okay. I want to see what other projects we've got on the GDK and see if any of them have images. No. No, okay, fine. We're going to add an image. That should be fine. Okay. How do you add an image? I don't know. I've never done it. General settings, I guess. If we get stuck, we can Google it. Cool. Avatar. Project avatar. let's find something that's not embarrassing live. That's fun. I'm going to take, I'm just going to take a screenshot of this little avatar. And then I'm going to add that as our screenshot. Save that change. Okay, now we have our image loaded. Great, that's all we needed. So what we're going to do is have a look at the Vue DevTools and see like, how is this being rendered? Is it Vue or is it pure Ruby? So if you're not sure on how this works, what's actually happening here is so Ruby on Rails is having a look at this path. Actually, let's be consistent and have a look at the issues within Flight. I'm just using issues because I know it slightly better. Okay, so you might have seen some of these are confidential, but like we're on GitLab GTK anyway, they're not really confidential. So don't worry about it. Anyway, but this issues list page is enough. Okay, so I want to work out how is this page rendered? What are we looking at? That looks a bit funny, doesn't it? I guess it's for mobile, but anyway. So I want to have a look at how is this rendered? Is it rendered in Vue or is it rendered in Ruby.js? Just so you comment. Thanks, Marco. Found. Excuse me. Okay, so this entire page is a Vue application issues list root. Top nav is its own application. Tooltips, its own application. Popovers, its own performance bar. Superside. Okay, so this is its own its own application. So I didn't see any that is the breadcrumbs, which means it's probably it's probably rendered by without Vue at all. This is probably just directly from the Haml. So what we're going to try to find is like where is this rendered, who does it, how does it work. So we can have a look at the data test ID is a good place to look, because then we can look code base for data test ID breadcrumb links. Okay. So this is a breadcrumbs Haml file. Okay. So what this means is this is the Haml, I don't know, extension thing, add-on. I don't know the right words for Haml. This is how we render breadcrumbs when we're not using the Vue component. So what I really want to know is like this. So this is an unordered list. It has the class of list unstyled, class of breadcrumbs list, JS breadcrumbs list, and it's got our data test ID. So this is the right thing. So this here is like the rendered list, but we're looking at it in Haml, which is a little bit different to what we're used to. So I'll try to go through it a bit slower. Okay, so we have an unordered list and its classes. So you can again verify that here. These are the 3 class names we have. Here are 3 class names. So unless there are hide top links is true. So I don't know what this is, but we can have a look. Okay, so on any given page, it seems you can just say hide top links, and then that's going to be true. Oh, how do we go back? Shit. Oops. Okay, so unless we're hiding the top links, what we're going to do is the header title. Cool. And so what is the header title? What's that? So in the unordered list of our list items, I don't know what this is. No. Well, we'll skip it for now. We'll come back to it if we need to understand what it is. It's really tempting to like find out exactly what this is, what it does. Sometimes it's really useful to know the component properly. Sometimes it's not. So it's fine. We'll come back to it if it's important. So then we have if there is breadcrumbs extra links, then for each of these links we want to do. So we take out the so this is like map each do. I'm pretty sure. Again, my Ruby's not fantastic, but sorry, 1 second. Okay. This is very similar to maps. For each do. So extra, this is what we're calling an item. So breadcrumb, list item, link to, extra, and then text and link. So it's very similar to what we're doing before. But we know that this is capable of rendering an image, so that's what we're looking for. And then we want to render, where do we render it? After the collapsed inline list, I guess. Okay. Unless skip current level breadcrumb is true. In which case, I don't know. I guess we'll do something else. Not sure. Okay, and then okay, so now we have something different. So this is Haml with inline JavaScript. So this is this is uncommon to get, but here it is. So let's try to work out what this is. We saw this before, schema breadcrumb JSON. So I'm just going to search for it everywhere that we use it. Okay. And we'll see if we can understand what it's doing. Okay, so this is the definition of the function that we're calling. So when we call schema breadcrumb JSON, this is the function that we call. And what it seems to do is just add this list item element, build list item elements, makes it into a JSON. What is build list item element? It's another function. And what this function does is so return the schema list that's already in place, unless breadcrumbs as extra links and any. So I guess this is probably an object, and like if it has anything in that object, then we want to keep going. So sorry, if this is, so we're going to return it unless this is true. In which case, if it's true, we're going to keep going. This is a little bit confusing. Again, it's Ruby on Rails, slightly different speak, but we can get through this. We don't need to update any of the Ruby, so we just need to understand how it's working and what it's doing. All right, so the last element is equal to schema list pop. Pop is the same as in JavaScript. It just takes the last item in the array and removes it. So now this list does not have that last element. The last element now belongs to this variable called last element. Okay, so now we're going to take breadcrumb extra list. Okay. So for each of these, we're going to take the element and we're going to push to the schema breadcrumb the element text and the element link. Okay. Still no mention of image. That's fine. The last element for the position, we're going to give it a position of the last plus one. Okay. And then we're going to push it to the list as the last element. I don't know why. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me immediately, but here we are. Okay, so we're building this out. Still no mention of our image. Let's try to work out how else it might be. So how else might you do this? So we can keep trying digging to understand this better, or we can like Google. It's very specific, so we're unlikely to find how this works in Google, but we can try. So GitLab breadcrumbs Rails. So this is the page that we're on before. This is how the component works. Okay, maybe it's got our, all right. Okay, it's called an avatar. That's useful to know. Well, should have been obvious before because it was called avatar. So I might just go back to, what is this? Go back to GitLab UI. I don't know where it's gone. Doesn't matter. We'll go back to our changes and we'll change image source to avatar source. Again, something is running automatically with NVM and I need to fix it. Sorry. Avatar, obviously, small a first. So we're going to replace image source with avatar source. I'm going to say, like, if we have an avatar source, let's use it. If we don't do an image. Straightforward. Okay. Okay. So we have an avatar that's optional, which prefixes a group or project link. Which is confusing because the documentation says you can add it, but currently can't. Yeah, right. But guidelines, when to use. Breadcrumbs should exist on every page, except for register and profile, to show the hierarchy of parent and child pages in the context of current page, where the current page is the last item on the list. Yep. When don't use it, when not to use. If you need to link to a sibling, don't use it. Use an ellipsis to hide when there's 3 or more. Is on wiki. Top level. Okay, this is useful. Good for us to know. All breadcrumb items except the last one are truncated to 120 pixels. That's why there's references to the last page. Okay. Ignore the GitLab instance in the breadcrumb. All right. So I guess the GitLab instance is like gitlab.com because it might be like your gitlab.com. For a page that presents the individual, last element should have the ID. Yeah, fine, nothing to do with us. Contextual page within the navigation breadcrumb should only include submenu title. Yeah. Use sentence case for each breadcrumb element. It doesn't apply to us. The special ones, here they are. Maybe we'll need to know this for later. Also, in the accessibility, there's a nav element with aria breadcrumb wraps the ordered list to provide a navigation landmark. Okay, a related avatar. Okay, so avatars, the available size is 16, so that might be a problem. Maybe not a problem, but it's not good. I don't like that this is 16 and this is 15, but I'll have to ask our designer on that. Also, if that's a good point. If you want to ask a designer on the thing that you're working on, how do you do that? I'm on a new team, so I need to do this anyway. So I'm going to look for. Okay, let me start that again. I'm on a new team. I'm working on foundations. We manage GitLab UI, but I'm going to imagine I'm a community contributor looking after GitLab UI, working on a project, an issue, GitLab UI. So this is the project. Sorry, this is the issue that I'm working on. The issue will have labels for group to work out like which team is this part of. So we're in like the dev section within DevOps, so dev, and then manage, and then foundations. So what we can do is Google like GitLab foundations team. This works. So you can have a look at the team, have a look at what they do, you have a look at who's part of the team. I'm so new to the team, I'm not here yet. One day. So I actually work in, I don't know if it's interesting, but I now work in managed stage across 3 teams. So I might not be listed here eventually. Anyway, I do work at GitLab. Sorry, what I'm looking for is I didn't do that very well. What I want to know is who's the designer for this product. This page is a shared page for everyone. So what we should have is a designer, product manager, engineering manager, front end. That's cool. It's a little entry point if you want to contribute. You can see some information here. We have a lot of, so this team is good for contributing because we have a lot of repetitive issues. So for example, this is about pajamas migrations. So we're, I'm not going to try to explain it because I'll embarrass myself, but there's a lot of repetitive tasks there. So that's good. One of my goals in this channel is to sort of show how these things are done so that you can use it as a guide. Okay. So how do you get in contact with us? So if it's urgent, you don't know what to do, you can just comment this in, I won't do this, but just showing you. You can be like, hey, and then it's going to ping the whole team, including myself. Anyway, just so you know. But we're going to try to actually find our designer. Yeah. I don't know who our designer is. Okay. Yeah. So if I was external, I would just do what I just said and tag like everyone and ask. But because I'm internal, I'm going to look it up on Slack later. Um, yeah. Anyway, so that question I'm going to ask is actually we can also see here like who is okay. So it's probably Nick because he's been commenting on this issue. So we can just hover over each person and see who they are uh, and what it is they do. So project manager, design, senior manager, design, a maintainer of pajamas. Seems like the very senior person that knows what's going on. I mean, I'm sure everybody's very senior and knows what's going on. Anyway, so this seems like a conversation with the designers who, you know, sorry, lost my train of thought. These are the people who know what's going on in this specific topic. So when I ask, I'm going to ask Nick to start with. I'll just write a comment for myself here to remember the avatar size. So should the 15 or 16? Okay, back to what we're doing, I guess, which was no idea. I'm so lost. Okay, so we're looking still. How does it work? How do we inject the images in Rails? How does this work? We still don't know. This is not relevant, I think. No. Okay, so we'll go back to our Google search, which is GitLab breadcrumbs Rails. This is not. So these are old issues, but that's a very old issue. But it might indicate how this is being done. Oh, you know what also we could do? It feels really dumb. We can have a look at the image itself. Oh, and we're going to look for like a test ID, something like that. Class even. Okay, so data QA selector. JS lazy loaded content. That's not going to be useful. That's pretty vague. So what avatar title? Okay, so now we can search in the code base of so GitLab code base of avatar tile. Okay, I copied and pasted it because I thought it said title. This is groups how. Oh, breadcrumbs list. Great, cool. All right, it's good. So this is on a groups helper. So maybe it's only added specifically for groups and for projects, which is the case anyway. So then it's only done this way twice because we only do it for projects and groups, but they're such a big part of who we are. So thanks for joining, Marco. See ya. Yeah, okay, great. Let's read this and try to understand. So this is a function, define function, group title link. So it's passing the group. Is it hideable? No. Do you want to show the avatar? No, that's odd. Oh, maybe that's just the default, I guess. Again, I don't know. I don't know Ruby. I'm learning. I'm learning. For the drop down, I mean, it's the function definition. Obviously, it's the default. All right. So for the link to group path, we want a class group path, breadcrumb, item text. Okay, here's the text. And then with this, we want to do, so the icon is this group icon. So this is a function that gets, I assume, that gets the group icon. So you give it the group. It has the alt tag of the group name, which we already know. It has the avatar. It has a width and height of 15. So yeah, this is how it's being set. And then group try avatar. I don't know what this is. So if the group has avatar URL, or it has show avatar, so if it has a URL, or if it has show avatar, I would have thought show avatar would need to have as well. Maybe this means something different in Ruby on Rails than JavaScript. I don't know. Then what we want to do is we want to take that icon, sanitize the name, join the HTML. All right, cool. I can't remember why we're here, but it's good to know that this is the height and width. I want to see if there's a similar one for projects. So what I did there is like I looked for like a unique part of the code that's going to be in every part, whenever this is done and how it's done, and search for it. So here's our 3 implementations. One is in groups, one is in projects, one is integration helpers. So this is, I guess this is the only other place I did find this before. Yeah. This is the only other place. I even searched for this, but I searched for this with both commas. That's frustrating. Anyway, so when we connect with external services like Jira or Zen-Tao, we use their logos. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's the only times we use logos in GitLab. In the breadcrumbs. I don't know what we're doing. Okay, so in GitLab UI, we've now updated the breadcrumb component to be able to, when it takes in the items, it takes the text, the href, and the avatar source. So this seems pretty straightforward. It might just be done. And then what that means is most of the work is going to be in rendering it elsewhere. So for starters, what we need to do is go 15, because that's what's expected at the moment. So then it's probably going to look far more like what we expect it to be. So I think, well, this component, there's nowhere in the code base that's using this component to actually render the image aside from the breadcrumbs implementation guide. Like this is the only place, the storybook, where we're actually using the component with images. So it's probably wrong and we didn't notice. And maybe that's why this looks a little bit funny to me. So what we want to see is like, does this look better? And again, I don't know. I'm not a design person. I'm gonna have to ask a design person. So now we have items and we have so our story. We want to add. So instead of this, want to update our story to have avatar path, which is already the case, so that's concerning. Yeah, concerning. All right. Because we renamed it avatar path. Avatar source. Oops, this bit is what we renamed. Yep, avatar source. Maybe it should be avatar path. I don't know. We'll decide in the code review anyway. See, yeah, like I want to be careful about the naming, but I also want to make sure that like we use what is similar. Like if we're already using a similar name elsewhere, we want to use a similar name. This looks exactly the same to me. It's obviously not. It's now 15, but that's what it is in the rest of our code base. So I'm gonna leave it like this. All right. So why is this complaining? Oh, because I can just do avatar path. Yeah, obviously. Cool. I'd like a different avatar, so I'm just gonna look up this one, find out what the path is. I think there's going to be like a bunch of images that we can use. So we can use like avatar 2. We'll use these examples. They're going to be better. We can just copy the path. Static image avatar 1. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So then avatar path 2, we're going to use here. 1, we're going to use here. And in our sample, we're going to have 2 different avatars. Great. Okay, cool. Just needed to make sure that works. Okay, so this is how it works in stories. What we next need to do is add our tests. And then, yeah, the much bigger question is going to be, how do we implement this? It's a way bigger question. Maybe it's not something we need to do right now, because for this issue, what we need to do is add support for opt-in avatar on every separate breadcrumb. That's our immediate task. Our following task is add breadcrumbs to all of these pages. We're going to try to use the Vue implementation. And then a third optional one is to be like, okay, how can we use Vue for all of our implementations? But that's not as high of a priority. But we do need to make sure it looks the same. Okay. So here is our test. I haven't read these tests before. I don't know what they are. So we're going to and read it. I'm going to try to understand it. And then I'm going to try to write tests so that we make sure that the avatar actually works. Okay, so we have like find avatar slot. So we'll need to change this. So this test will already fail. So we can also do like, we haven't even changed the branch. Okay, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the community branch for GitLab UI, because if you're following along, that's what you would have to do. So I'll show you this. It's pretty cool. GitLab community fork. Okay, so on GitLab community group, this is a group at GitLab that you can request access. I don't know why this button's here because I should already have access. Oh, it's just a link to how to access, how to request. Anyway, if you need access, this is how you do it. Request access to the group. Maybe we could rewrite this. If you want to rewrite this, you're welcome to, please. How do you do this? As a user, you can request go to the group, and under the group name, click request access. That's what I thought I did. Yeah. Let's have a look at this blubbed out. Looks the same. All right. Well, if you get stuck on this, let me know. At me on GitLab or at Lee, who wrote this. Ask in our Discord. Probably don't ask on this stream. You're not going to find it. Our Discord, GitLab community Discord. This is the information on our Discord. Join us. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, ask how to do that here. Anyway, the point was I'm going to use the GitLab community fork to create my branch. The reason for that is because it works the same for me and for you. So I'm going to use it. It works slightly differently for me. Because I work at GitLab, I can create a branch directly on GitLab UI. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to clone GitLab UI from the GitLab Community Edition. Sorry, this is a poor explanation. Bear with me. Find the project first, make sure it is here. Maybe it's not. No, it's not. That's fine. We can add it. But yeah, if you want it added, so I won't show it now, but I'll show you how this works. And if you want it added, please ask in Discord, and our contributor success team will add it. So this is a group that you can join. There's 26 people in it who are all, contributors to GitLab or staff. And the reason why it's useful is because if you create a branch in the community fork, you can create your merge request here, and it will use our minutes instead of your minutes. So when the pipeline runs, this runs on GitLab's dollar instead of your dollar, which is good because you're working on GitLab, so it's worthwhile. That's all. I'm not going to use the fork now because I'm going to work on GitLab UI, and we don't have it forked yet. Anyway, all that to say, I'm going to create a branch because I haven't done that yet. I'm going to use this branch name from here. So I could just create a branch here. It's a bit annoying because then I have to create the merge request with the branch name, and then I need to move to the branch. So I'm just going to use this like default branch name because it's quicker. So then I guess I'll stash my changes. So one of the benefits here is because I've started the branch with the issue number, it's automatically attached to that I don't know if I needed to stash it, but I did. All right. Again, I need to sort this out. I don't know why this is here, but I'll do it offline. Okay, so these are the changes so far. The other change I want to do, that's what I was working on, is the tests. We want to do the tests. So what I want to do here is run the test. So I don't know how to do that in GitLab UI. GitLab UI front end tests. Again, I'm doing the same thing that you would do here. Just Googling it. Okay, so this is for our main code base. I specifically want for GitLab UI. Maybe I'll just look at the README of GitLab UI. Excuse me, might be better. Okay. So it's a different project, has different documentation. Yeah, it's probably going to be here. So this is what it is, how it works, how to use it. If you want to use it on your own project, what else? Testing, right. So what we want to do is this. Yarn test unit runs all the unit tests. This runs everything in watch mode, so when you update it, it will automatically run it. That's what we want to do is the specific test. It's the same as GitLab, so I should have just tried it. Yarn jest and this relative path name. So we should see this fail because as we change stuff, but it didn't find it. Maybe it just needs the name. No, that's the wrong test. It's the wrong file. That's the stories. Sorry. Okay. Copy relative path. Okay, great. So now we have a failed test. So what we can do to the first thing is we can fix this broken test. It's good test-driven development, right? We're doing it the wrong way around, but you know what I mean. I guess. I assume it's failing because it expects there to be an avatar slot, and there's no avatar slot. But there's not going to be anyway. So so that's not useful. So we're going to delete this test. Yep. So now says like describe slots. Okay, there's 2 slots here, so it's still relevant. I thought maybe there was just 1 slot, but there's 2, so this can stay as it is. Thank God. Okay. So I guess what we're going to do is in the items. So this first one, it says in items, it has 1 breadcrumb item for each item in the item props. Make sense? This says it has the right separators. Yep. So what I want to know is like when I add, so in the test data, I'm going to add some images. I'm going to see like if those images render. That's what I really want to know. So this one says the first program has text and aria default, aria current default bound. All right, so let's have a look at the sample props. Okay. So in the breadcrumb component, we have items and we have extra items. We're no longer using this, so we'll get rid of it. When do we use extra items? Oh, when we want to test for a longer one. But generally we just test with items. So by default, we create the component. The props data is items. And then we render this. So here are our slots, which we're going to remove the avatar. It's no longer relevant. So in items, what we want to do is we want to add, I'm going to add the avatar to 2 of them, because the reason why I want this is because I want to test that the first one has an avatar, the third one has an avatar, and I want to test that the second one definitely does not. So I'm going to use the same information as from the breadcrumbs here. Oh, also this default, we don't need this default. Don't want that default. We could check, like, if it has a image source, it should be, you know, an actual URL, but we don't need to. In the story, sorry, that's what I'm doing. So story, I want the avatar path. And I want to add it in the second one. In the third one. Should we rename this to be 3 to be clearer? Maybe. Because it's the first and the third, and it's easier to read. It doesn't matter if this is 1. It's fine. So then I also need to import these. There is you do need to be aware of where you import things. There's an order, but you can see ESLint is telling me this is a problem before, so that's fine. But I think it should be like, if you're doing 1 up, it should be at the end. You can see that. Yeah, so things that are further away are at the top. So this is external, not close. And this is the same folder. Anyway, so now we have avatar 1 path, and in our items we have the avatar path. So now what we should be able to do is, when we're checking to see, this is checking to see the bindings. Are the bindings correct? So we need to work out, do we need to put it in items test or bindings test? Not sure which. Because so the first one has aria current false bound. What does this mean, bound? Like, where are we setting aria current? I think we do it by default, because yeah. Last breadcrumb has text aria current page. Okay, so what that's doing is, so the aria is the screen readers, and like the accessibility of the page. And what we're saying is, like, it knows this is a breadcrumb, and what it's asking is, like, which one is the current page that we're on? So for example, our current page is GitLab UI, so we should see aria current in the breadcrumb. Yeah, primarily for screen readers, machine read pages. So you can see that. Hopefully, maybe you can't on here. So this list item doesn't have it, because it's being rendered by the Rails. So that's, not good for accessibility. We should add this to the Rails. component, the Rails helper that's rendering this. But anyway, that's what this is doing. So sorry, this is checking if it's collapsible. We're just trying to work out where the test should fit here. When the breadcrumbs are larger, so this is like, it compresses it, so it's not relevant. And does that expander work? So I'm going to put it in items. So I'm going to say like, or maybe I'll create a separate one for we call them avatars. Okay. Describe avatars. Okay. I'm going to take a break and then I'll come back later and continue this work. Thanks for joining. Again, if you want assistance, if you want to join in this project, if you want to work alongside me, if you want to take on some of these tasks, hit me up in Discord. We'll find my Discord handle and send it in the chat. But yeah, if you can also see me on GitLab on the issue itself. You can tag me. That's me at J Rushford, and yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining. See ya.